Welcome to your personalized tour of Newfoundland. I'm Belle.
And I'm Anya. Welcome to the Newfoundland Shipwreck Tour.
And we are your virtual tour guides for today.
Because of strict COVID rules in Canada, we can't go through with the in-person tour, but we will make sure that this virtual tour is even better.
This tour focuses on the shipwrecks of Newfoundland. We will talk about some of the biggest shipwrecks and even Newfoundland's involvement in World War II.
Before we get into some of the famous wrecks of Newfoundland, it's important to recognize that Newfoundland was not a part of Canada until 1949. Here's a picture of a map of Newfoundland.
Many of the shipwrecks due to the war happened when Newfoundland was still Dominion.
Now let's get to the interesting stuff. Though many ships have sunk in Newfoundland's coast, one of the most famous ones is actually the Titanic in 1912.
Although it wasn't directly in Newfoundland, it was closest to their coast. The Titanic sunk only 400 miles off the coast of Newfoundland and was the closest landmass to where the boat sank. And here's a picture of a map and how close the Titanic sunk to Newfoundland.
Researchers believe that the iceberg that the Titanic hit was most probably from Newfoundland.
It's crazy how something like this isn't common knowledge. Newfoundland's history of shipwrecks definitely has some stories.
Yep, that's right. Newfoundland also has a history with its involvement in World War II, with there actually being naval battles off the coast.
The first known battle off the coast of Newfoundland was on March 3, 1942, when 3 torpedoes hit the town of St. John, 2 which hit the Fort Amherst, and the cliffs below the Cabot Tower. Here's a picture of St. John on the map and Cabot Tower.
Luckily, no one was hurt, but all of the windows of Cabot Tower shattered.
Although 2 days earlier, Liberator pilot Ensign William Topini had spotted the German submarine U-656 in broad daylight and destroyed it. From this sinking, the most famous radio signal of the war was said, "Sighted sub, sunk same."
But it was actually all made up. The one biggest scandal of the war was that there was no actual sinking of submarine U-656 or proof that it was actually sunk. The Americans made it up to improve American morale after the Pearl Harbor attack that was a few months before.
Most interactions between Newfoundlanders and the Germans were exaggerated. Many of the battles happened out at sea or just off the coast. But there's one confirmed submarine attack in which Newfoundland civilians were involved, and it happened a few years later with the submarine the Zimmermann.
On May 1st, 1944, a Liberator aircraft spotted a U-boat U-548 in Conception Bay, also known as Zimmermann, after its captain Heinrich Zimmermann. The vessel escaped under the cover of darkness, so fighting stopped. Here's a picture of Conception Bay.
A message was broadcast to other ships, including the British warship HMS Hargood, who was waiting for the ship when it surfaced again.
The sub was staying close to the cliffs while the British warship was searching. The schooner Mary Cody came into the search zone where the Germans were, and HMS Hargood intercepted them and told them to spend the night at sea, and Mary Cody complied.
An hour later, though, the whole crew looked over the side of the boat and could see a dark mass underneath the surface keeping pace with their boat. Luckily, they stayed their course and the submarine later diverged.
The unfortunate episode was that the ship, the HMCS Valleyfield, was on its way to Halifax in an escorted convoy when Zimmermann came into contact with it. The Valleyfield was not as alert as it should have been and was torpedoed and sunk by the Zimmermann.
The ship went down so quickly that the other 2 ships in the convoy did not realize it was missing until 30 minutes later.
By the time they got back and located the survivors, only 38 of the 165-man crew survived. The rest died of exposure.
Now, while you're here in Newfoundland, make sure to have the time to meet our residents. They're definitely an interesting bunch of people.
Some may even remember Tough Boy, a German boat that was docked in Newfoundland. It was believed to be a Nazi boat.
Unfortunately, its owner, Bayonet Melville, passed away before it was done being upholstered by a new business in town.
Tough Boy was just another example of World War II's presence in Newfoundland. Here's a picture of a German U-boat example.
That's right, our coast was a popular place for German boats.
Unfortunately, you're right. Another huge disaster that struck our land was the Belle Island disaster. This consisted of 2 separate attacks. one on September 5th, 1942, and the other on November 2nd, 1942.
Belle Island was directly attacked during World War II, and it was not by accident.
U-boats slipped into the bay and sank 4 iron ore cargo ships. Their names were the SS Saganaga, SS Lord Strathcona, SS Bros Castle, and the Free French vessel PLM 27. Here's a picture of the iron ore ship anchorage on the map of Belle Island.
This attack completely destroyed the wharf on Belle Island and killed 69 men. The purpose of this attack was to stop the transportation of steel that was meant for the war effort.
At the time, the largest high-grade iron ore mines in the British Empire was located on Belle Island, Newfoundland. Belle Island was the sole source of iron ore for the huge steel mills in Sydney, Nova Scotia, which produced 1/4 of Canada's iron and steel in 1942.
Newfoundlanders were completely shocked by the attack right on their doorstep, but despite the shock, they immediately responded by rescuing and caring for the survivors of the sinkings.
That's really admirable of them. Today, divers can visit the war graves. It is a short distance from shore, and experienced divers have the chance to explore these shipwrecks that remained underwater. Here you can see a scuba diver near one of the ships that sank in Belle Island.
There are still over 100 square miles of iron ore mines beneath Belle Island and under the seafloor of Conception Bay, where the World War II wrecks resided. It's crazy how the remnants of World War II are still around for people to see and learn about today.
It's definitely important to understand Newfoundland's history, but it's also important to see it in the present. As we reach the end of our guided tour, be sure to check out Newfoundland's own shipping news from the Gammy Bird newspaper. It can give you updated information on the past few weeks.
That's all we have for you today for your tour of Newfoundland shipwrecks. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Thanks.